Hello everyone, welcome to another Level Up with Aaron video. It's been a while since I did another video, but been busy with real life stuff as well as just playing the game. I'm always trying to keep up with the top 25 players, so in order to do so, you do have to play on a pretty consistent basis or you'll start to fall behind. It is a long journey and I'm trying to, like I said, stay near the top of the pack, so that requires me to put in a pretty decent amount of playtime to keep that up. Today I wanted to do a little video for you. I had a couple requests from some Alliance teammates in Janus. Shout out to the team over there. Great group of people. Enjoy playing with them as well as other alliances out there. I was actually in New Era for a little while and they were a great group of people to play with as well. So shout out to them as well. But yeah, my request from the Alliance teammates today was to talk about assisting as well as defense. So I never did do my kind of final chapter on defense where I kind of talked about overall base design, kind of tactics, ideas. I've done kind of summary videos on various aspects of defense, the towers, the temples, the monuments, the houses. So now I'm just going to do a kind of a quick synopsis of defense. This is how I see it currently. Obviously, when Poseidon came into the game recently, a few months back, he made a lot of changes to overall gameplay. His attack is very strong. Both the water blast and the tidal wave can be used really effectively to take out temples. So in some cases, actually, I believe that defense is actually not quite as strong, but maybe I'm just viewing this from the top perspective. I haven't really got comparison for lower levels to see how it balances out. But if you look at pretty much all the top players, usually, unless at the very top, the offensive scores are exceeding the defensive scores by a pretty large margin. Like this gap right here that I have currently is probably one of the largest gaps I've had between offensive defensive trophies since playing the game. Of course, these cups they fluctuate all the time. That's kind of actually an overall idea that a lot of players still need to grasp. I see that a lot. People worry about cups, but really they are kind of a temporary thing. Really the only way to keep up with cups is to continually play. You need to keep leveling up, keep gaining resources, and that's the only way you can keep building up your base. Is if you don't, then these cups are going to go down, both your offense and your defensive cups, because it's all in relation or relative to the players that are playing the game. So if your progress is exceeding the other player's progress, then you're going to comparatively see your trophies rise faster than everybody else's. But if you're overall in relation to everybody else playing the game falling behind, then you're going to see your cups drop. So I always encourage people, unless you're in the top like 5, 10 players, don't be worried about getting a certain trophy level. It's fun maybe if you want to set a personal goal, but really the overall objective, depending on your personal goals in the game, is to keep leveling up. So really, the more you keep leveling up, the higher your trophies will be, both offense and defense. So also, whenever you do increase your defensive cups, you got to keep in mind that it's a temporary thing, almost in some cases, because say hypothetically, if you're not at the top 3 or 5 or whatever, if you increase your cups from 3,600 to 3,900 right now, then you're going to see opponents that are going to be attacking you at a higher league. So if your defensive log previously had a lot of players that were lower than you that were losing, and then you get a better defensive design, you're going to see your defensive log is going to look about the same. The only difference is you're going to be seeing players that are higher levels attacking you. So really the best gauge for your defense in comparison to your level, etc., is not what your trophy per se is, but it's more of what opponents are losing to your base. So if you're successfully defending against people around your level, then you've got a great base. So don't worry about it. Because you got to keep in mind everybody pretty much does easy attacks. So if your defense goes up from 36 to 3900, you're going to be getting the people that are attacking it easy, that are going to be attacking you. So like 4200 attack trophies, if they're going to be attacking you, and you're going to still be losing just like you were losing before, only it's to a higher level player. So the net result, bottom line, is for pretty much everyone playing the game beyond periods of win streaks, or you have a lot of defensive assists, you're probably going to lose at least 90% of your defenses on average. So just kind of get used to that conception. It is an offensive based game. And if people were losing easy attacks on a regular basis, the game wouldn't be fun. I think, obviously, when you lose offense, it's a lot more frustrating than losing a defense for most players. And when you do lose an offense, you're also losing your nectar. Whereas if you lose a defense, you really have only resource to gain. Because even when you lose on defense, you still get gold. So that's why I really don't let defensive trophies, upset me in any way. My biggest thing with my defensive bases is my base layout earning me gold. So if your base layout is earning you good gold, whether you're losing 90% or you're only losing half, that's your key. That's your key thing you want to do. So if you got to make tweaks and changes to keep your base, earning you lots of gold, then that's what you should do. You should always, your base should always evolve a little bit, because eventually, when you have a base for a really long time, I've had this layout for quite a while, people learn strategies and to beat it. That's how pretty much it is with every base. So you have to mix it up regularly if you want to keep a base that's, tricky. Because if you keep it static the same for any extended period of time, people are going to learn routes, and then they're going to see and share replays, and other people are going to pick it up, and basically it'll be something where everybody knows, okay, this is a successful way of beating this base, and then they'll just kind of copycat that. So here we are. I actually had a live defense for this video. I was just going to show you guys some defensive replays and talk through them, but I can show you in real time. A few keys to defense really are dividing up your targets, your main temples. The big main temples, they vary a little bit based on your level, but generally speaking, like for high levels, you want to take out the high survivability temples like Athena, Poseidon, Apollo, and Zeus. For low levels, you might want to take out the threat temples, which I call the damage dealing temples, which are your Ares, your Artemis, your Zeus, your Aphrodite temple, your Hades temple, because those are all temples that buff your base defense, based on what the house buffs are. And the other temples, like I said, for high levels, are ones that make your base harder to kill. So it depends, on the strategy. Like this is like a hybrid slow push strategy where they take out a bunch of key temples in the beginning, usually a cluster of the base, and then they do like a slow push around the outside and finish off the rest. Defense is a little bit frustrating right now. I have, expressed some concerns on the forums and other areas, and I'm hoping maybe, we'll see a few changes. I'm actually of the mind that I would rather see defense be a little bit stronger. Like if I'm taking the time, or teammates are taking the time to defend a base, I'd like to actually feel like, and would like them to, enjoy it in the sense that, hey, we're making a difference. These days, when you're in defending a battle, it doesn't really feel like you're making a huge outcome. Yes, it does make some difference, but I feel like the difference that it makes is more marginal these days. We did have really strong acolytes a while back, and then we had real strong vengeance warriors. Both of those troops were nerfed, and that's because the community complained. So it's kind of like that's why I always caution people, don't complain too quickly about nerfing stuff, because you might get it and then you might not realize that in the big picture it was actually probably a better situation than post nerf. Pre nerf was probably better off than post nerf. there's just an adjustment time period for people to adjust to the new expectation. So, say if I had a really good base and we got defensive assist buffs or a defense buff, then of course my defense trophies would go up. And now everybody that normally beats my base would be upset and be like, hey, what's going on? I can't beat this base and I always used to beat it and now I'm not beating it. Well, you'll balance out. So now instead of beating bases that are 10 levels higher than you, maybe you can only beat bases 5 levels higher than you. So there is an adjustment period for players to get used to that. But overall, I think it is more enjoyable, especially from an assisting perspective, if you feel like you're making a bigger impact. Like, I rarely defend myself. I'll defend teammates, just out of respect and helping them out, returning the favor. So it's like, hey, you help me, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna help defend. But the way defense is right now, it feels pretty frustrating, and only for a few scenarios does it really feel like you can make a difference. And usually those are just defending really tough bases. So like in my alliance currently, some of the top players are Scorpion and Math Rocks, and I'll just look at what their defensive trophies are. They're both at the 4300 defensive ratings. So, of course, when we defend these bases, there's only a few people that can attack these bases on easy and beat them. And when we defend them, their margin for victory is a little bit more narrow because these bases are really tough. So they do make a difference when we defend these bases. But I feel like the other bases, everybody doing easy, it doesn't really make a difference. You can have 4 or 5 defenders in there, and you're probably not going to lose unless it's a base that might be out of your league. But anyways, I'm kind of going a little longer talking about random stuff. Let me try to focus in a little bit more on defense here, like I said. So spreading out the key targets, so you can see what I did here, like I mentioned, was I put Zeus, I put Apollo, I put Poseidon, and I put Athena all at the corners of the base because those are kind of key targets for high level players to take out early on. And then I spread out my other bases. I actually put my Artemis Temple in the middle here. I do like the Artemis Temple. I like it to be saved for near the end of the battle because I enjoy the range of these monuments, and when they have those greenhouses, they're even better. So I love that, and you kind of see the idea here. I basically surround all my monuments with houses that buff each of these particular monuments, and I spread them out so that way there's multiple threats. So if you just clear out one cluster, like this area, you clear out this area, then you might have headaches in this area, or now you got to worry about this area, or you got to worry about the Ares troops coming at you. So that's really the key to defense right now. Hopefully we'll see a base editor in the near future, and we can really get kind of creative with these base layout designs. But generally speaking, that's kind of the trend, is to spread out your threats and to spread out the attack, so that way you're always keeping pressure on the attacker, and to make your base harder to cover. So that's why I have them spread out. Like if I had a really tight clustered base right here, I feel like with the higher level players, they could take out 5 or 6 temples really easy in the very beginning of the battle. If I had my temples too close, I don't have enough buildings to really fill in and make it tight, but also make it hard to get from temple to temple. So since I don't have some of the buildings like a higher level player have, like Math here, she actually is able to cover the whole map and spread out her temples, but still have it filled in with towers and buildings and stuff. So it's not like the gods can just walk. So that's what the difference between her defense and my defense is, that she can do cover the whole map, and then the attackers can't just walk easily from temple to temple because she has a lot of buildings in between each of those temples. So she kind of has the best of both worlds right now with its spread, but also having stuff to slow down the gods in their motion. So let me also talk about assisting. That's been a hot topic recently in Alliance. I'm going to talk about assisting on attack. So there are still fundamentals of assisting, Usually, I actually prioritize helping out people that need help before I help out people that already have help. But fundamentals of assisting are: number one, always protect the gods. Number two is don't drop troops that can be converted to the enemy's side. So, of course, if you see the heart tower up, I'm not going to go over here and drop hoplites right next to it, because it's just going to charm those hoplites, and now they're going to work against the attacker. So you're not doing your attacker any favors by dropping troops that get turned over to the other side. So whenever you see that heart monument up, make sure you don't drop any charmable troops in that area, because then they're just going to get converted to the enemy's side, and you're not going to help out your attacker. I like to use this rotation, you can see on the left hand side, for my assisting troops. I like to use the fishies because they have range. They do pretty good damage. I use tents occasionally to either build up armies, or I'm not helping very well on this one since I'm talking. I use skellies. That's probably the main troop used right now. Skellies they're a good troop. Their movement is fast. Their their attack is pretty strong. Their yeah, that's pretty much it. Their movement and their attack is good, but their health is pretty low. They die very easily. And the bad thing also about melee troops, with like skellies and vengeance warriors and oh shoot, and any other attack troop that has to attack up close rather than from range, is that they'll usually run up on the towers. So they'll run up and get killed by the towers right away, whereas range troops will stay back and they'll have a longer survivability. That's why when gods are under pressure, I still am of the opinion that 90% of the time, that when gods are under a pressure from defense, the archers are the best assist troop, because they don't get killed. They provide a little cushion, and of course, they're attacking all the people that are running up on the gods trying to kill the gods. So I do find that archers are a great assist troop for keeping pressure off of your gods that you're helping. And then vengeance warriors are good for clearing mobs and taking out towers. As you know, they explode when they die. They used to be better. They're not as good as they used to be, but on offense they can be situationally pretty good. On offense, I pretty much use skellies, fish guys, and vengeance warriors to help out my attackers. And then on defense, my primary assist troops are the fish guys, as well as vengeance warriors, and depending on, it really depends on what god lineup is out there. So if they're having, like right now, it's a slow push time, so you can't touch anybody with melee assist troops, because they don't move, so you have to put down ranged troops to hit them. So I'm dropping little fish guys. But take later on in the battle, say if Hades gets taken out, then you should drop skeletons, because skeletons are going to overwhelm the gods, and the attacker doesn't have his Hades to charm or destroy the skeletons, so skeletons can be a very effective troop. And same goes for if Aphrodite's not out there. If Aphrodite's dead on the enemy attacker, then start dropping, archers or hoplites, because the attacker doesn't have the crowd control to keep those troops off of their gods easily. So in those cases, you want to switch up to those other troops. Alright, well, I'm going to wrap it up. It's been almost 20 minutes, and I think sometimes my videos go too long, and I probably lose everybody about 5 minutes in. But for all you guys that stuck to the end, let me know if you got any questions or want to see anything else in any upcoming videos. Thanks for tuning in. Keep leveling up.